views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey everyone, I'm the Dr. Bob Lee. Welcome to Open BXRX. Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. Let's get ready to go. Coming up on today's show, well, we've got a lot for you. We'll hear from an important member of the Democratic National Committee as he provides insight on an important voting process and its impact on the upcoming primary. Then we'll highlight a new platform providing all opportunities for Black and brown women in the business world. And after that, we'll speak to an entrepreneur to learn about how the pandemic led to a pivot in her company's direction and how her organization seeks to make brands iconic. And then Bobby C steps into the room with the latest in the world of sports. And then finally, we'll hear from the sons of a community legend to learn about the impact on a school and how they are honoring her memory. It's a beautiful thing. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. All of this and more coming your way because we are now open. Hey everyone, how are you? How you feeling? I hope all is well. I'm your host, Dr. Bob Lee, and you're watching Open. It's that live interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. You can stay connected to us through social media at BronxNet TV. Now, leading things off, our first guest is a CEO of Atlas Strategy Group and former vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. He joins us here to share some great important insight on the progress of ranked choice voting. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's like sort of confused, but a lot of people get it also. And he's gonna tell why it plays an important role in our upcoming June primaries and beyond. So please welcome to the show, my friend, former New York Assemblyman, Michael Blake. Mike, how are you? How you feeling? How are you doing?
Dr. Lee, I'm always better to be with you, good brother. And you look calm and relaxed and chill. You got good vibes, good light. You'll get like a 9 on Room Rater right now. So I like that.
I know we did another thing. I didn't make it back to my studio, so I did it from my car. He said, brother, you need to get one of those circle lights.
Gotta get that ring light, man. It was a little dark in the car right there. I got my ring light app right now, so I can appreciate it.
Yeah, I had it, but I couldn't plug it in. Absolutely. I needed a converter. But anyway, we have something called ranked choice voting. I mean, New York has that ranked choice voting, and of course, it has all the things that comes with it. So you've been involved in politics for some time. In fact, we even get you on and we speak about what's happening in the world of politics. So tell us more.
That's right. So everybody, just so we understand, for the primary June 22nd, it will be potentially the most transformative individual election that New York City has ever had. New mayor, new comptroller, 4 out of 5 new borough presidents, 35 out of 51 city council members. Separately, you have district attorney in Manhattan, other races. But when it comes to ranked choice voting, the simplest way to break this down, imagine you have, let's say, 13 candidates running for mayor. You can choose up to 5 candidates, but you rank them in order. So I've done this exercise with a lot of folks when it comes to hip hop. I'll say, yo, you have 13 different hip hop artists that you love. Rank number 1 through 5, your favorite ones. Now, people ask me, why are you doing it that way, Dr. Lee? Because number 1, ranked choice voting will make it a point that no one can win that race until someone gets 50% plus 1 of the vote.
Right.
So you rank your first choice, you rank your second choice, you rank your third choice, you rank your fourth choice, you rank your fifth choice. And you don't rank them on the same line, you rank them where it says second, third, fourth, fifth. Right. So pull it back up, Dr. Lee, because we're going to show this in real time so people can understand what's going on. Because we want everybody to understand this. Why are we doing this? your first choice may be knocked out in a round. So whoever has the lowest amount of votes in that round gets eliminated. So you should presume in round one, write-in votes are going to be what gets eliminated, right? There you go. Dr. Lee got to go on there so you can see what's happening there. So again, remember everybody, you're not going to place it just by saying I'm ranking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the same line. You got to do first choice for your candidate, second choice for the second candidate, third choice for that third candidate, okay? Again, round one, write-in gets eliminated. But whoever got selected as a second choice for that write-in, then their votes go to that candidate. So if I say my favorite musician, my favorite athlete was Muhammad Ali, and then someone says it's Michael Jordan, and then someone says it's Serena Williams. Okay, well, if somehow Ali gets knocked out and my second choice is Michael Jordan, then Michael Jordan gets my votes. And if Michael Jordan is my second choice, is the last one gets knocked out, then it goes to Serena Williams. And we're doing it this way so that, again, you make it a point that someone has to get 50% plus one. And here's the other major change, Dr. Lee. There will not be a runoff. So as opposed to previous times, everybody, when you're showing back up in
so
2 or 3.
Eliminate the runoff.
No runoff. So you showing up one time. So if you go and you're doing your absentee voting, by the time of the 21st, early voting will be completed. But the 22nd, which is election day, just realize, no, I'm not just coming back another time. I got to take care of business now.
Yeah.
So you have to be very intentional and figure out what's going on for ranked choice voting. And the last thing on this is the Manhattan District Attorney and the judges do not have ranked choice voting. So, and depending on other parts of where you live, you wouldn't have that. But for the borough president of the Bronx, for mayor, for public advocate, for comptroller, for your city council races, 1 through 5 is what you have to do for ranked choice voting.
Right. And a lot of people asking, well, why ranked choice voting? Because New Yorkers elected to use ranked choice voting in a 2019 ballot measure. And it passed with about 73.5% support.
Yeah. I mean, when people think about it, fundamentally, there was a concern that a lot of Black and brown people would not come back for a runoff. You're able to save millions of dollars by having one election as opposed to multiple. And again, it forces the scenario that no one can win until they get 50% plus one. So think about these other races, right? Like you could have a scenario where you were getting through the primary first and second round. One person has 31%, another person has 27%, and they're getting to runoff, and then they're winning at that point. Now it's very clear. You're going to win these primaries. 50% plus one of the voters had to have placed you on their ballot. Yeah. And that's a very powerful exercise. So again, greater democracy saves money, eliminates the opportunity of a responsibility of to come back a second time.
So everybody's for it. You're for it. When you first heard about it, were you for it?
When I first heard about it, I was still learning about it because I needed to understand how it worked. I think that we were all challenged because of COVID, that we weren't able to do the education everyone wanted to do. Yeah. However, I do think the premise of it, I do support, and I do support what it can be and what it will be, because it's like the Iowa caucus. For anyone who liked Barack Obama, let me break it down this way. The Iowa caucus, where you show up in a room and you could have one candidate you rock with, and then you can change midway 30 minutes later. This forces you to learn about multiple candidates, and it forces candidates to keep talking to you, even if you're not their first choice. There you go. That's a very powerful exercise in democracy. So I can't just like dip out and say, no, I don't want to interact with you anymore. You know what? You might have a first choice, but your first choice may not make it. Your first choice may be at 1%, 2%, 3%. Your first choice may not have enough support. And so you're like, you know what? I really believe in the principles of the first choice, but I could rock with this second choice. And you know what? I could rock with this third choice. And if they get elected, then you know you are a part of the process there.
Yeah, still a part of the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've been going through this for a while. We've been talking about all sorts of politics now. What's happening with voter suppression all across the country, and how do people get out of it?
It's very concerning, Dr. Lee. You know, there was a report by Vote Early New York, and I actually wrote an op-ed on this, where affidavit ballots of voters who were registered voters were being not counted because someone was showing up at what was called wrong church, wrong pew. Very simply, you show up at a polling place, it's a polling place you've gone to all the time, or for some reason you were directed there, and you're a registered voter, and instead of making it easy to say, you know what, they showed up at the wrong place, but I'm still counting it, they weren't counting it. Or even worse, Dr. Lee, I would show up at the right physical venue, but because the tablet might have been at the wrong table, if the poll worker didn't have me go to the correct tablet, that technically was the wrong polling site for me. And therefore, those affidavit ballots of a registered voter wasn't counting. And so this is very important, everybody, because for primary day on June 22nd, you may get asked to vote by an affidavit ballot, but be very clear. Ask them why. Why are you having me vote affidavit? You know, well, I couldn't find you. Is it because I'm at the wrong tablet? Well, then send me to the right tablet. Yeah. Am I at the wrong venue? Send me to the right polling place. Do those things. But then also, Dr. Lee, if you are asked to vote by an affidavit ballot for some reason, please, everyone, make it a point. You have to sign the piece of paper of the document of why you're requesting an absentee ballot. And even though it's not mandatory, because we changed the law, Section B states, why are you voting by affidavit? And so you could check the box of, well, I'm at the wrong polling place, wrong information. This is very important. This is something that I've been fighting for. A lot of people have been fighting for. We should make it easier for you to vote, not harder. And so these are the types of steps of why we want people to be aware of being prepared. Make sure to please go to the right polling place. But if something happens, make sure to ask the correct information.
And don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged, because a lot of people will get discouraged and say, oh, you know, I have to pay anything for this anyway. But your vote does count. And it's very, very important. We learned that with Percy Sutton when he was running a lot of things here in New York City. When he was asked, you know, what do you say to people who will think their vote doesn't count? And he said, what? Are you crazy? The president gets to choose the Supreme Court justices, and he ran it all down. And I was like, whoa. And just enlightened a whole lot of people on the radio at that time. But yeah, there's a whole lot at stake.
I try to make this very simple for people. You care about jobs. You care about your job. You care about your kid. You care about saving the next generation. You care about housing. You care about healthcare. If you had someone that lost because of COVID, you know, whatever the reasons are, you should vote. And I had a panel recently where I said very simply, when someone asked me, why am I so passionate about politics? Politics and policy is when you can change lives for the better at scale. You can literally do one thing and millions of people can have a better life.
Yeah. We have to get you in one of those schools where you can teach some civics.
I would gladly do it. I've been teaching. Shout out to Monroe College. I've joined them as a visiting fellow. We should have you come up to the college on that as well. I see you rocking Metropolitan College. Shout out to MCNY.
Oh yeah.
You know, but you know, I love going to schools. I love teaching social justice, civic justice. It's so necessary. It's the modern day schoolhouse rock.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so don't be discouraged. Of course, all the information is right here. The voting dates and everything, you can run it down.
That's right. One more time, everybody. So again, June 22nd is election day. You know you can vote from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. RankTheVoteNYC.org. RankTheVoteNYC.org. So you can learn about ranked choice voting, everybody. We want you to be aware of that. And I'm going to be out there regularly pushing for election day. You know, Dr. Lee, I know we made the rounds on election days. Check out different spots. I tell folks, hit me on Twitter, MR Mike Blake. Hit me on Instagram, Mike Blake 1922. You hit me with questions, DM me, follow up on questions like, yo, I'm trying to figure out where I need to go, what's happening. We will make sure to respond to you immediately on election day. Again, I'm going to drive this point home. When Bloomberg got his third term, other city council members got third term, June 22nd, we're going to elect in the primary, new mayor, new comptroller, 4 out of 5 borough presidents, including here in the Boogie Down Bronx, 35 city council races. We need you to get out to vote.
Yeah, and don't worry if you really don't understand ranked choice yet. There's going to be somebody there that will guide you and walk you through it.
They'll walk you through They'll walk you through what has to happen. But again, very simply, whoever is your first choice for that position, rank them first. Whoever's your second choice, rank them second. Your third choice, third. Your fourth choice, fourth. Your fifth choice, fifth. And know, again, your other choices only kick in if the previous choice has been eliminated. So what we do is, again, follow the websites, get that information, and let's make sure people know what they need to do.
Before we go, tell us a little bit about, just to touch, Atlas Strategy Group.
I've been doing some work for the last, 8 years in different ways. We bring equity and justice to scale. So from teaching at Monroe College on civic justice to collaborating with Next Level Sports and Entertainment, which is the only Black-owned sports network. Shout out to Andre Gudger, who's established that. Yeah. To what we're doing with the Washington football team. We're doing the work to help our people. So if you need help in any way, atlasstrategy.group, atlasstrategy.group, so we can rock and support you in any possible way.
Well, we always appreciate you and love you, man. I'll be rolling to the polls with you, though. I'll get to get
you ready. Call me. We've been hitting up Co-op City. You ready? Co-op City, busiest polling place in America, Dr. Lee, is Co-op City.
We'll be there.
We'll be there.
All right, Michael Blank, thank you so much, man. We love you.
Love you, Dr. Lee. Appreciate you. Much love, everybody.
Well, Mike, thank you so much. Thank you for all your time. And, we'll be rolling to the polls together June 22nd, all right? I'll give you a holler. More Open coming up next, right here. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. Our next guest is the founder of Her Sweet Spot. Watch out, Her Sweet Spot. And she's here with us today to highlight how her online platform is connecting young women of color entrepreneurs and providing them with all the resources that they need to grow their businesses. So please welcome to the show, Marsha Guerriere. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you? How you feeling? And how are you doing?
I am feeling fantastic. Thank you for having me on your show today.
It's always a pleasure. Now, what made you want to start? There's always special stories about how people got into it and what gave them the idea and where they got the idea from. How did you start this online business?
I've always had some form of business throughout my upbringing, whether it was career coaching, helping people build resumes when I was younger, and catering. I always had that entrepreneur spirit. I got to a point where I was working for a startup company in Manhattan in fintech and realized that I really wasn't being valued for what I was bringing to the table. And I got to the point where I was asking other people, how are you feeling within your industry about, the contributions you're making and what you're getting back? And I started hearing the same response, like, we're not getting paid the same, we're not really getting promoted. And so many of my friends were starting their side hustles to fill the wage gap and promotion gap. And I wanted to create a space where we could come together and learn. I needed a space for myself, to be honest, right? I needed to hear from attorneys and accountants and people that understood digital marketing in order for me to successfully grow a business. And I realized that I was the connector for all of the people in my sphere that needed the same resources. So I started with a women's conference 7 years ago, and put together the resources and in a safe environment for us to truly celebrate one another.
It has to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And now, how many years have you been in it?
Well, legally, we incorporated in 2015, but I've been doing the work since 2014.
Yeah. Usually do it beforehand and just...
it's trial and error. You got to test it out. If it's something that you think you'd want to move forward with. And that's why I said I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've tried many different...
A serial entrepreneur.
I've started and stopped many things out of my own personal passion. And and I've gotten to a point where the skills that I developed in corporate America as a business analyst and as a product manager, I realized those are the same skills I could use to help women grow their businesses. I've been helping rich white men get richer with my skills, and I decided, let me start doing it for people that look like me.
Yeah. And any good feedback from it yet? Any people that could come up and speak to what you're doing?
Absolutely. I've helped over
Live testimonials, things of
We
that
we
nature?
have many of them. You'll find them on our website. You'll find them periodically showing up on our social media platform. I've worked and helped with over 1,000 women and men with their small businesses through my events, through my workshops, and the one consistent thing that I've heard from many women is that I didn't know. I've been in business for over 2 or 3 years, but I
Yeah.
wasn't running a business. I was just in my business doing the things that I love to do, but I didn't have the foundation and the mindset to properly run the back end of the business, and that's really what we're providing women and men at Her Sweet Spot.
And I heard that Sweet Spot has been issuing grants, so to speak, to help entrepreneurs.
Yeah, we partner with my nonprofit, Eva Jordan Foundation, to raise
Yeah.
funds to give women of color that seed of hope, right? It's those small micro grants that we could give that will help someone, whether it's to upgrade your website, pay for an email automation service, or a scheduler calendar for a period in time. And so we've been giving out micro grants. Last year, we were able to raise over $30,000 to give micro grants to women specifically of color that were impacted by COVID.
Yeah.
19 small businesses, and at the time we were left out of those PPPs, and we weren't getting any grants or any loans. So I turned my own pain, because I had to homeschool. I went through the same struggles as everyone else during the pandemic, but
Yeah.
I turned that into perseverance so that I can raise the funds and help women that were struggling.
And you did a lot of this during the pandemic. How did you conduct business during the pandemic?
Yeah, so the business has predominantly been digital prior to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we really didn't have much hurdles to go through to continue on that digital landscape. And what I found was that most of my clients were not operating in a digital space. So we really had to go all in. When I thought that the business would fade away in 2020, it actually doubled, and my clients needed my attention even more and support to help them really hone in on one, their mindset and all of the fears that they were struggling with throughout the pandemic, and really staying accountable to continue the fight to achieve their goals through the pandemic, and turn their systems into, or their programs into, a more digital program.
Yeah. And now in 2021, you said you may pledge to help about 100 women of color.
We are pledging for 1,000 women of
A
color.
thousand women of color.
Yes, Bob.
I'm
We
missing
we
a
are
zero.
we're trying to end the year strong. This is our time to really advance in the things that we want. We have learned through the pandemic that there is no stopping us, that we are
Uh-huh.
finally getting the recognition that we deserve when it comes to leading and starting businesses. And I want to ensure that Her Sweet Spot is there to support as many women as possible, and men. We do work with men as well. So
Yeah.
with that, we've soft launched an online network called Her Sweet Spot Network that you can find and create a free account online. We're giving women access to our workshops and our speaker
Oh,
series.
beautiful.
We have a Her Rise Salon speaker series where we're connecting women with executive leaders in corporate America that
All
also,
right.
yeah, they also have side hustles and side passions, and these executive women are now more open and sharing how they're balancing and juggling everything that they do personally and professionally. And we want to give women those inspirational and the tips and advice to continue to do it as well.
That's great. How can our viewers go? Where can they go to learn more about her sweet spot?
You can go to hersweetspot.com as well as finding us on all social media platforms. We're on Instagram, we are on LinkedIn, and you can connect with me directly, Marcia Guerriere, on LinkedIn as well to learn more. And reach out to
Marsha,
us via email info@hersweetspot.com. And that's sweet, SUITE spot.com.
yeah, you can think about a sweet spot, but yeah, a sweet 500 or sweet that. Yeah, sweet spot.
And the C-suite, many of us
There
are
you go.
solopreneurs. We're climbing to the C-suite by any means necessary through entrepreneurship.
It's a great name. Sweet spot. Her
Thank
sweet
you.
spot. Quick question, and they're gonna wrap me up. Do you work with nonprofit organizations also?
I do work with nonprofit organizations. I'm currently working with one providing career coaching for the next generation of leaders. And so we work with nonprofits, we provide them workshops on branding and helping their clients understand all the areas of entrepreneurship as well.
Thank you so much, Marsha Guerrero. Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you
right.
for having me, Bob. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Marsha Guerriere. We appreciate you. We love you too. We'll take a break. I've got more headed your way next on Open. Welcome back, everybody. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee, and our next guest is the CEO of Uconic, and she's here to speak about how the pandemic led her to creating her business and how she is using her platform to positively impact others. So please welcome to the show, Luisa Mendoza. Luisa Mendoza. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Bob. Thrilled to be here and thrilled to be a part of your show today. Always great when you see the name Bronx show up with some love for New York City.
So Luisa, like Luisa Puerto Rico?
Luisa from Colombia.
From Colombia, all right. We've got it in there. Here we go. So tell us about all these wonderful things that you're starting, this wonderful business, and how you're helping others get what they need out of life.
Absolutely, Bob. Well, really last year, the year of the pandemic, when the world came to a complete stop, I had just launched a company called GTSE, Global Tourism, Sports and Entertainment. And literally February 28th, I was in Univision giving an interview as the first Hispanic female in the United States to start a global tourism, sports and entertainment company. And we were ready to have the most amazing year after a trajectory of 20 years in the sports and tourism industry. And March 13 happened when the world shut down completely. And immediately I realized I needed to pivot. Yeah. And so I started to ask myself, what can we do? I hired an executive coach, Marcus Ogden, former NFL player, who had obviously been through the NFL and lost everything overnight. And then he reinvented himself. So I said, Marcus, what do? I don't know when sports and tourism is going to come back. And he said, well, let's do a whole brainstorming. And I realized that digital marketing was so important. And when you think about it, there's 1.5 billion social media users. Per second, 77,000 searches on Google. And we know that on average in the United States, adults spend 3.45 seconds. And everybody was stuck at home. Everyone was buying online. And I said, there's so many businesses that want to get their services out there, that want to get their products out there. And they need a website. They need to understand social media marketing. And so we hired the best of the best and we launched Uconic. And our goal is a trifecta because we help you with making your brand iconic, hence Uconic. We make you iconic. And we also work with the public relations side of it. So not only do we bring your brand to life, and we actually do everything for your digital marketing and your website development and SEO optimization, but we also work with PR, making sure that we get your brand out to the world. What we're doing today, right, Bob? I'm on your show. PR is so important. Right. And then
Absolutely.
we said, and we were like, well, this is great that we're working to help the brand become iconic, but what about the core team? What about the leaders of these companies? And so we're working with executive coaches to really help the leaders understand how they can leave a legacy behind through their companies. So we merged this ecosystem together to do a complete analysis of companies and help them thrive. And that's how this baby got started in the middle of the pandemic.
So are you the first female in the US to start a global tourism, sports and entertainment company?
So I was director of tourism development for NYC and Company, and that is the official tourism office for New York. And I was leading the Spain and Latin American division. And so that was my dream job. Bob, literally my first day on the job was on a plane to Brazil to promote New York City.
Whoa.
Does it get any better than that?
Oh, doesn't get any better than that. What part of Brazil
So
did
here
you
I
go?
am. I'm one of those that waking up at 5 a.m. and just jumping out of bed because I loved what I did. I had an office in Spain, Colombia, Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, and Chile, where we were working on promoting New York overseas and getting everybody to come to New York City. And I was there for about 6 years, and it was amazing. And one day I get an email on LinkedIn. I get a message that the NBA's Brooklyn Nets are looking to hire a director of global tourism development. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, after the hardest career decision of my life, I realized that this was an opportunity of a lifetime, because I was going from director of Spain and Latin America at NYC and Company to global director of tourism development for a sports league team, which was the NBA Brooklyn Nets. And another thing that was key for me was that I was going to create a brand new department that had never been explored before. And so this was an opportunity for me to become an entrepreneur within a huge organization. And the rest is magic, because here I am. I had the opportunity to speak to all of the sports teams at a conference called IPW, because I met with the U.S. Travel Association, and the U.S. Travel Association said to me, Luisa, it's crazy to think that out of all of the sports teams in the United States, NBA, NFL, NHL, all of them, all of the leagues, only 5 teams have a sports division. And of those 5 teams, only 1 team hires somebody from the tourism industry. And so I went to speak to all of the teams at IPW, and I shared with them, I said, listen, I know sports is super competitive, and that's not new. We all know that. That is the core of sports, is the competition. However, when it comes to tourism, we're a family. And when one team wins, we all win, because if you get tourists that come, right, if you get tourists that come from Australia, from China, from Brazil, and they go to, let's say, Miami, and they see a Miami Heat game, and they have the time of their lives, where do you think they're going to want to go when they go to New York? They're going to say, let's go see a Knicks game. Let's go see a Nets game. So I got them to understand how we were not competing with each other. We were all here to win. And so I said, if you need any help, you have a sister in Brooklyn, just reach out to me. And the phone started ringing. On the other hand, we need to become a signatory for SAG-AFTRA, because a lot of these artists, rappers and R&B artists, they're starting to tour, and they need somebody, instead of somebody pulling them into like a promoter, they need somebody bigger to help them out. I'll explain later on, but I guess that's a part of what you're doing also. But you're dealing with a lot of entities here. But continue doing what you're doing. God bless you.
and the company.
Thank you.
Louisa, tell us about all the wonderful things that we can find out more. I want to find out more about what you're doing because you're out there and we want to know more. Where can we go?
3 places. First one, go to globaltourismsports.com for GTSE. And then the second one is Uconic, UKONIK.com. That is www.uconic.com. And third, if you want to find me, LinkedIn is the best way. You can reach me at Luisa Mendoza on LinkedIn. And I look forward to connecting with you and your audience.
Luisa Mendoza, the CEO, Uconic. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Bobby C has the latest in the world of sports. Speaking of sports, it's all coming up next on Open.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
Last week on the show, we caught up with 1967 Yankee first-round pick and the first designated hitter in Major League Baseball history, Ron Blomberg. Here's part 2 of that interview. You know, both you and Munson, first overall picks. You were the first pick in 1967, and you know, the back-to-back years for the Bombers, but you really could not have been more of an odd couple. And the book really speaks to that.
Oh, we were. It was very, very simple. I got drafted in 67. He got drafted in 68. I came out of high school. He came out of college, Kent State. We became very, very good friends in 69 and down in spring training. So right off the bat, we love to fish. We love to play golf. We love to eat. We love restaurants. So being Jewish and having Fort Lauderdale was our training camp, and Miami was right next to us, like baby New York. I took him to all the delis down there. I introduced him to the matzo ball soups, the pastrami's, the corned beefs, the half sours, the Dr. Browns. He had no idea what that was. The knishes had no idea what it was. And I mean, he fell in love with the dish. He fell in love with the food. And when I got to play with him, we became roommates. He took me to the great places in Ohio, in the Midwest. He took me to White Castle. White Castle was a big thing in the Midwest. He took me to the little hamburger places. But we became very, very close. We did so many things together. Our families did so many things together. You need to read that book. The book is unbelievable. It's great. It's been on #1 for Amazon. You'll love it.
So Ron, like you just said, I mean, it is a terrific book. I'm not just saying that. I really enjoyed it. And I know that it is co-written, but I can tell that it's in your very own words. And I love some of the stories, too. I love the run-in with George Steinbrenner over the haircuts back in the day, too. That was a great story.
Oh, he made us get it. He called us in his office. It was myself. It was Pinella. It was Nettles. It was Catfish. It was Thurman and myself. It was in August. I was hitting 400 in August, 406. Thurman was hitting the ball extremely well, hitting over 300. It was Pinella was hitting the ball, and Nettles, and of course Catfish. And he wanted us to get a haircut. We said, "Screw you! We're not going to get a haircut." Hey, I'm hitting 406. So I mean, he calls us up to his office, and he said, "You need to get a haircut." I broke my haircut guy. You're going to get a haircut. We looked at him. We said, "Absolutely not." We walked out, and we looked at each other and said, "We thought, is he going to release everybody, or is he going to trade everybody?" Or, I mean, we had no idea, to be honest with you. We go down to the locker room. We forget about it. The next day we come back. He had like a little letter in our locker, and we looked at it, and we looked at each other. I said to Thurman, Thurman, did we get released? Did we say something incorrectly? He said, "I don't know. I'm going to open it up." He opened it up. A $100 bill fell out. I opened up mine. It's a $100 bill. And back then, that was a lot of money. Back then, that was a lot of money to us, okay? And he gave everybody $100, and he wrote on the letter, he said, I respect y'all. Now you just better bust your butt, and you better win for me. And we did. And he became a very, very different. George Steinbrenner was wonderful to us. He was tough. He was hard-nosed, but that was the type of guy he was. He wanted to bring a winner back to New York and back to the Yankee fans, and he did that.
For many baseball fans that may not be as into the Yankees and know your story, you're often just credited with this one amazing event in history, but you were a darn good baseball player, a perennial 300 hitter when you were healthy, and you ended up having to retire so young at the age of 30 because of injuries.
Well, unfortunately, I gave 120%. Unfortunately, I ran into a wall in spring training that really messed up my leg. And then I hit a home run. Well, before I hit a home run in Milwaukee, and I tore my shoulder up. And back then, we didn't have the modern technology for to rehab. They had to cut into my shoulder. They had to, my tendon was completely severed. They had to tie my tendon back into what they call the humerus. That's on the side of your arm. And I couldn't throw after that. They put me on first base, and that's not the easiest position to play. And people think it's easy. You just catch a throw. You know, when you have to catch a throw from Greg Nettles, where it sinks, and you have to catch a ball from from Stick, and the ball, you know, I mean, it fades away. And then you had Willie Randolph at second base, and he throws like sliders at you. And then you have pitchers like Sparky, and then you had Catfish, and you had Tidrow, and you had all those guys, and those balls sink. Hey, you know, look at all the first basemen as the Yankees try to get in there now. It's not easy to play that position when you've been in the outfield your whole life. And, you know, playing first base, you got like 70 feet, 60, 70 feet away from the pitcher. And he's throwing the ball 90 miles an hour at you. So that's not easy. But unfortunately, I was injured. I gave everything I had. I played up in the big leagues going on 9 years, and I was injured quite a few times. But there's one thing people got to say. I gave 120%. I love the fans, and they took care of me even when I was injured. And to this day, those are the people that made me, to be honest with you, Robert. And those are the guys who are the heroes. I played a fantasy. I played something what I wanted to do. I lived a dream. I got to put on the Yankee pinstripes. I got to play in Yankee Stadium. I got to play in the stadiums that Ruth built. I got to play in the greatest fans in the whole wide world. And being Jewish, living in New York City, I had it made, because I think I was at every bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, and every Jewish wedding. I always lit a candle. So I was related to every Jewish person in New York City. So I had a great time. Even I come back to New York, they're great to me. And these are my family. This is my family, Robert.
We're up against it in terms of time, Ron, but how often do you think about that day, April 6, 1973 at Fenway Park, when you become the first DH in Major League Baseball history?
I screwed up the game of baseball in 73. I had no idea that the DH was going to be 48 years later. I thought it was going to last like 6 to 8 months. I thought it was just a glorified pinch hitter. That's what it was. But now it's a position player. Now you got Edgar Martinez, of course, in the Hall of Fame. You're going to have David Ortiz, probably the next DH to be in the Hall of Fame. But the good part about it was, whenever it was cold in a city that I had to be a DH, I wasn't stupid. Elston Howard said, you need to get back into the clubhouse. I went back into the clubhouse, and I always wound up eating the players' food that we had after the game. And like, if people read my book, the first chapter about eating devil legs, and I ate all the devil legs up in Boston, where everybody got mad at me. But hey, I'm sitting there listening to the game. I'm not playing in the game. I'm just hitting in the game. But sitting up there eating, it was wonderful. But the DH is going to be universal next year, and it's going to be it's here to stay. but I screwed up the game. I tell everybody I screwed up the game of baseball in '73, but I love it.
I don't think you did it all, Ron. I think it's definitely something to feel good about. I mean, DH is a great thing, I think, for the game. It's allowed a lot of players a chance to extend their careers.
Oh, they're making a lot more money than I did. You know, I go back to New York to the Yankee Stadium, and always go to the finance department. I always ask them. They still have my meal money. Let me tell you something. I mean, real quick. But in '73, I had 329, and they gave me a $500 raise. The next year, I had 311, and they took my $500 back. And the next year, I had 301. They didn't even talk about a raise to me. But just think, I mean, I'm not going to say a player's name, but a guy was hitting like a $140, and they gave him like a $2.5 million raise. I mean, that's pretty good, But hey, I was on the greatest era in the game of baseball.
Well, Ron, the book is great. Your story is great. And of course, that friendship with Thurman Munson is phenomenal. The Captain of Me is filled with untold stories about Thurman Munson's analytical yet hard-nosed approach to baseball, as well as his kindness and generosity off the field. It is available at Triumph Books, as well as all major retailers, including Amazon. Thanks again, Ron. Always great to see you.
Thank you very much, Robert. Welcome back, everybody. I'm the Doc Bob Lee, and our next guests are the host of BronxNet Television's weekly programs, Bronx Talk and the Bronx Buzz, a psychologist and a senior member of a family medical group. They join us today to speak about a nursery school and the impact that their late mother had on the school community, and how they are doing their part to honor the memory of their mom. Please welcome to the show, Arthur, Gary, and Jeffrey Axelbank, the Axelbank brothers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Gary, we know you're always on our BronxNet, but introduce us to your brothers and what do they do? Maybe they can talk off and tell us about what you do. And Jeffrey, you can follow them.
Let me tell you this, that people in the Bronx don't need to hear me talk on TV anymore. I will just say that this was really a special thing to do. It was the best way we could think of to honor our mother. And since my brothers don't get to talk on TV as much as I do, happy to let my brother Arthur have his say, and then Jeffrey, although we are out of order because I'm in the middle. But Artie, you could start and say whatever you'd like about what we did and why we did it.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. We don't usually go in order anyway, so it doesn't matter. We're all pretty much the same age. Thanks so much, Bob. Yeah, I'm the one brother that lives far away in the South, North Carolina. But I understand the weather up there is probably just as warm as it is down here right now. So we're the same that way. Well, this was just a wonderful thing. And my brothers attended the ceremony yesterday at the nursery school. It's really part of our upbringing and our legacy in so many ways. And I'll say our mother, Mickey, but also our father, Eli, were both ensconced in books and reading, and this became part of our lives. And for us, it's sort of easy to springboard to our careers and to have academic lives and academic interests. But I do worry about children and families that, don't have the same resources that we had. And clearly that makes a difference in what hand you're given going forward and how you play that hand.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it at that.
I think, first of all, we should name the nursery school we're talking about. We're talking about Marble Hill Nursery School,
yeah.
and it's in the Marble Hill Public Housing Project at 225th and Broadway. And what we did was we gave a donation, a monetary donation for them to replace old worn-out books, and also to add new books that would better reflect the diversity of their students. And so we were just thrilled to do that. And we also selected, each of us, a book that we remembered that our mother would read to us as a way to kind of seed the library for them. And what I remember, so I'm the youngest, and our mother went back to work when I was in second grade. And I remember my parents sitting me down and saying, Mom's going back to work. Like, would that be okay with you? Or how would that affect you? And it turned out she went to work at a nursery school, which was literally down the block from my elementary school. And so I would go there for lunch every day. And what I saw was how she interacted with the children, and I got a chance to see her reading to them, and I actually got a chance to help out a little bit too as a second, third, and fourth and fifth grader. So this really felt like a fitting way to memorialize her.
The best way that we found to honor her legacy was that she loved kids, and even to the day that she died, which was April 2020, we said then we've got to do something to help kids. And what Jeff said is totally true, that the idea is to make sure that kids today, and both brothers said it, we all agree, that the idea is to give kids the same opportunities or as good opportunities as we had.
Can you describe the relationship that the family has with the staff of Marble Hill?
I mean, I'll be happy to start it off. Assistant administrator named Karen Warshell became a teacher and an advisor to my mother, and ultimately will tell you to this day, and she told us yesterday, that Mickey was really her mentor and taught her everything she knows. She became the director, we should say, Mickey was director of Marble Hill Nursery from 77 to 85. And then Karen became the director for 37 years. So that is also part of Mickey's legacy.
Yeah.
So we've had a relationship with them, since 1977, I guess.
Yeah, I want to go back to something that I think is really important about books and reading. I'm a psychologist, and I really think that it's the relationship between parents and children is just so important, not only on learning how to read and an intellectual level, but on a relationship level and on an emotional level. And it's something that I think is really true, is that when you are reading a book to a child, you can't multitask. You can't be also on your phone. You can't be watching TV. And so it's the one activity that you can do with your children that it's just you and your child and the book, and you're kind of relating to one another and looking at each other's eyes and laughing together or crying together if it's a sad story. And so there's something really important about reading to your children. And that's also partly why we thought this was really an important donation to make, to help them get more books.
One of the things they told us yesterday was that, because they have what appears to be a nice library, I mean, there's plenty of books there, but because kids are handling the books and families are handling the books, they get torn, and many of them have been there for 30, 35 years. And so they're going to replace some of those and then add a whole new stock of books that reflect, so kids can see themselves, diversity, stories about urban situations that old traditional books don't always reflect. And that's going to be part of the expansion of the library.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I would add, Bob, which sort of circling back to what we were saying earlier, is that the opportunities are not the same for all children and all families because of resources. And the donation we made, of course, we know is a drop in the bucket compared to what is needed. And so I don't know if we're allowed to talk politics on this show, but our politics and our family is very much that resources need to go to preschool and early childhood education. And it's not to replace families by any means, but it's to enhance and support what families can do for their children. And like I said, our upbringing, we recognize, was privileged in the sense of getting access to reading and having parents that had the skill and the interest in reading, but families need to be supported in this way. And so preschool education and early childhood education is so important, and we're in favor of resources at all levels being directed in that way because the return for society is so obviously strong. So
yeah,
I have to say that my brother just defined what I know Jeffrey's thinking and I am thinking. So I really appreciate that, because I know Jeff would say the same thing, and I certainly people know in the Bronx that I would say the same thing.
Is there anywhere we can go to get more information on what we're doing with Marble Hill? Or
you can just send me an email. I mean, my email is a public email, gary@bronxnet.org. And anybody who wants to interact, wants to learn more, I'll be glad to pass it along, whether to my brothers or to the school. I had mentioned, I don't know if I'm talking out of turn, I mentioned to producer Stephen Powell that you could get the director of Marble Hill on next, on whenever you have some free time, and then he could really talk about, not necessarily about our mother, about the importance of private, this kind of education and everything else.
Thank you guys for your service. Mom, we love you. Mickey, we love you. And it's always a pleasure when you're working and helping with the edification of young minds. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you guys. And always a pleasure to see you. The Axelbanks, the band of brothers, Jeffrey, Gary, Arthur. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. Wow. It's funny how time flies when you're having fun. Okay, that about does it for us here at Open, but we'll see you again. I'll see you on the radio. For all of us here at BronxNet, have a great and enjoyable day. And always remember this: what you are is God's gift to you, and what you make of yourself is your gift to God. So choose your choice and let your choice control the chooser. Thank you for letting us share in this space and time with you. And we'll catch you another day, another way. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee. Love you all. Peace.